Connect data, automate busy work, and empower teams like nobody's business with the one platform that grows with you every step of the way. Learn how Salesforce works for small business at salesforce.com/SMB.
Hi, I'm Josh Christensen, executive producer of Inc. Podcasts, and this is From the Ground Up's Fall Programming. For today's episode, we have another panel from this year's Inc. Founders House in Philadelphia. Social media director Andrea Hardallo and her fellow panelists, Woody Hilliard, co-founder and CEO of the men's personal care brand W, Arthur Leopold, co-founder and CEO of the ad platform Agento, and Alicia Yoon, founder and CEO of the skincare beauty brand Peach & Lily, discussed the future of e-commerce. They chatted about the challenges of starting your business online, which trends are still relevant in their business strategies after the pandemic, and the difference in selling products on your website compared to selling them on social media. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Ooh, I love it. I love a crowd after a break. They're very excited. So welcome to the future of e-commerce. This panel is featuring three very unique businesses. I could intro all of you myself, but I think you will all do a better job doing that. So Woody, do you want to go first?
Perfect. I'm Woody Hilliard. I'm the co-founder and CEO of W, a men's personal care brand I co-founded with Jake Paul.
Hey everyone, my name's Arthur Leopold. I'm CEO and co-founder of Agentio. We're an ad platform automating the buying of creator content and influencer content.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Yoon, founder and CEO of Peach & Lily. Peach & Lily is all about powerful and gentle skincare, and we retail in Ulta Beauty, a little bit on Amazon and our website. And we are, all about glass skin, if you've heard of that.
Amazing. So to kind of get into it, everyone has their business online for the most part, or starting your business online is always challenging. What were some of the biggest challenges for you to start? Woody, how about you go first?
Yeah, I think for us, we actually launched our business initially in brick and mortar, which was really interesting. And I think the way we leveraged the internet was for distribution. In our first 4 months as a brand, we drove over 300 million impressions, driving people to Walmart. So I think for us, one of the big challenges was just helping people understand where to buy the product, what we were about as a brand, and really connecting with the right audience. I think when you launch a brand, the cold start is a really, really hard moment. And doing it on the internet, you're kind of yelling into this echo chamber, wondering, will anyone hear about us? Will they see this ad? I think the audacity of zero is quite an exciting moment, but also a really scary moment as a brand.
Yeah, Alicia, you could go.
I would say that, the reason I started Peach & Lily is because I saw this white space in the market. I have very sensitive skin and severe eczema. And I started the business when I was in my 30s. And at that time, I started looking for things that could really be clinically effective, but still gentle enough for my sensitive skin. And I couldn't find anything. So it took years of R&D, and a lot of our products are patent pending. And it really is now finally combining powerful and gentle skincare and educating people about that, convincing people, yes, there's, this 10% glycolic acid in it, but even if you have very sensitive skin, you can use it. So getting the word out in a new kind of, innovative, formulas that you have that people haven't experienced before, that was a really big challenge. And you have limited resources and you're really trying to educate while you're also trying to grow your business. So that was like the biggest challenge. When you're actually pioneering something, you have to really get the word out, and you have such limited means to do so.
Yeah, and I think getting the word out too, Arthur, your agency really helps connect brands and influencers together. Can you kind of expand a little bit of that partnership between the two? Or really when you started your company, what was the fault of how this was happening before you started?
Sure. So prior to starting Agentio, I helped start Cameo and saw the friction that we were able to reduce through building technology to connect first fans with their favorite people. On the brand side, for anybody here that's in marketing or has worked with creators and influencers before, there's this very like archaic sort of hand-to-hand combat that's necessary to try to get a deal done. And our belief was that, and still is today, that the future of advertising is creator-led. It's a creator and influencer sharing why they love a product and why a product resonates so well with them. But for a brand to scalably work with creators today, unless you have Jake Paul as your co-founder and CEO, is an uphill battle. And if you consider global digital media spend, there's about $600 billion flooding through Meta and Google and The Trade Desk and every ad platform. But there's only $10 billion that go to influencers and creators today. So you have this incredibly constrained pool of the most talented people in the world with the most authentic and most engaged audiences. And our belief was that we could build an ad platform to automate all of the hard things that marketers have to deal with today. And we could leverage large language models to do the entire buying process. That was a great save. And we've done that. And it's been an incredible unlock for nearly 100 brands, all the leading D2C brands and tech companies that are now leveraging our platform.
Yeah, and I think, we're talking about the future of e-commerce here, but I'm going to bring it back a little bit. So trends change quite frequently. 5 years ago, we had the peak of the pandemic, and obviously online shopping was very different then, even compared to how it is now. What trends are you finding from the pandemic that are still kind of relevant to how you run your e-commerce business today? Or what was something that you didn't do prior to the pandemic that you now implement into your strategy? Alicia, would you like to start?
During the pandemic, we saw that people were very excited to consume a lot more information and education, especially about skincare online. And so we started this thing called Peach Skincare Academy, where a few times a week at a very set time, I would go, I'm also an esthetician, so I would go online and answer just live questions about skin, like, why do you get hyperpigmentation? What do you do about it? Et cetera, et cetera. And we saw this incredibly engaged community, and people really wanted to dive deep into skincare. And especially with the advent of then TikTok, et cetera, you're seeing that skincare has now evolved to being so education focused. So we have kept that up, and education has always been, but even more so, a huge pillar for us. So, in the sea of skincare information out there, I know it can be very confusing. And sometimes you're like, well, this expert said this and this expert said that. And so we take our jobs at education very seriously, where we make it digestible, but we also source everything. So it's always backed by science. And if the verdict is out on something, we say that that's the case. If an ingredient definitively does help with a certain concern, we'll show examples and, the actual science as to why. So education and how you really deliver that across different channels, that's something that just has continued since the pandemic.
Yeah, do you have anything to add to that with kind of just the newness of your company as well?
For sure. I think during the pandemic, one thing you saw people gravitating towards was community. People were looking for ways to connect on digital platforms, connect with brands. There were all these brands hosting, workouts, hosting workshops, which I think was a really fascinating behavior that customers started to develop. So we've taken that and we're really trying to lean into community. Like our brand, W, is all about inspiring young men to have more confidence. The brand stands for win. It also stands for the work you need to put in to have the win. And we're really trying to tap into the audience that's authentically being created around the brand. We've already had dozens of people get tattoos of the brand, and we're only 10 months old, which is pretty crazy. So we're really resonating with customers. And one of the things we launched in the last couple of months is a Discord, and every day we have thousands of people interacting with each other, creating content for the brand, talking about the brand, talking about the product. So I think, very similar to talking about ingredients of your product, educating your consumer. We're seeing our community educate other members who are engaging with the brand and their friends who are interested in the brand. I think that's one theme of COVID that we've carried into like a modern strategy that you need to have as an e-commerce brand today. You need to tap into community, and it means, I think, community today is so different than what community was 5 years ago.
Yeah, you all touch on a good point when it comes to community. So I would love to talk a little bit more about social commerce. Obviously, TikTok Shop, I'm definitely a victim of it. I'm sure most people in this audience too are curious when it comes to selling your product on the social platforms versus selling your products on your website. Like, where do you find, I guess, the balance, and how do you treat both? Do you see one doing better than the other? Alicia, would you like to start?
We definitely see TikTok Shop as a really interesting place to do social commerce because, first of all, it's not the same as your D2C site in that the journey of how people convert on TikTok Shop, it's so different. It all starts with like a visual, right? It has to be so demonstrable. So there could be a bestseller on our website that's like an everyday serum, like the glass skin refining serum. But when you show it on TikTok Shop, it's a clear serum. There's nothing very wow about it when you just apply it. It's more with long-term use. So we're seeing on TikTok Shop, the products that do well for us are things that like you see that instant gratification. And so it starts with just even the SKUs. It's just different in terms of the entry point. And then we also see that, you know, you have to be, with TikTok Shop, I do think that consumers are a little bit more price sensitive. So you either need to be a leader in terms of offering deep value, or you're in a category of your own where you're not really competing with price because it's such an innovative product. So that's like another big difference that we see. And then finally, you know, as we view that as part of our e-commerce ecosystem. And so we really track that cohort to see, and it's hard to do because TikTok owns that data, but we try to encourage people to sign up for our newsletter, and we do surveys on like, did you shop it through TikTok Shop? But we can also tell because if you have a specific campaign going on TikTok Shop and you have like a whole bunch of customers who like bought it during that time. So we track that cohort, we try to then nurture them and then bring them into our D2C community. And then, you know, but you still understand the psychographic of that consumer is a little bit different. So we have different kind of email flows and how we nurture and, you know, kind of bring them into the Peach community. So it definitely is this complementary kind of place where it really does feed into your D2C business.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Arthur, your company also connects folks with like YouTube brands. Obviously with TikTok Shop, that's a whole different platform. And I know we've talked about that potentially Agentio would be on kind of connecting brands through TikTok Shop. Can you kind of expand, like when these D2C companies come to you, what are they finding difficult to connect with influencers, especially with what your company does to help them?
Yeah, the current process today is just very broken. So from discovery, like who are the right creators that most authentically fit and resonate with my brand and my audience, to how do I negotiate? What is the price I should be paying for a creator? Nobody knows. And you end up with this like game of chicken between people who are incentivized to create friction, and that like stifles the entire overall ecosystem. So our belief is by automating these challenging things, then you get this amazing storytelling through short form and long form platforms. And as a brand or brand marketer, I think it's important to understand that there are certain mediums that can be really impactful, and each medium serves its own purpose. So for TikTok, it's like lower consideration products. It's great bits of information, but the average viewability on TikTok is a few seconds, right? Whereas on YouTube, if you want like that deeper storytelling, you sit down to watch your favorite creator for 20 minutes on YouTube. And for higher consideration products, either more expensive products or products that need more storytelling, YouTube can be an incredibly powerful medium.
And I think, you mentioned working with influencers, and obviously, Woody, your co-founder is Jake Paul. When it comes to working with influencers or having that influential person part of your company, do you see that as an advantage? Do you see it as an opportunity to get more social influencers to work with your brand?
For sure. I mean, it's a huge competitive advantage for us. I call it attention arbitrage. Like when all these D2C brands first launched in the 2010s, there was the Facebook arbitrage. And now I think there's really an attention arbitrage. If you have a platform to distribute your content to tens of, if not hundreds of millions of people, that's going to allow you to perform much more efficiently as a business. So I think having a creator as part of your brand it needs to be the right creator, and it has to speak authentically to your customer. If it's not the right creator product brand fit, it's not worth investing in. But I think if you have the right brand and the right creator and their message and who they are speaks authentically to the brand and the customer, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, there's a huge advantage in getting other people to want to participate in your brand. If they see value in who you've partnered with as your co-founder. We have a lot of people that will do things for us for free just so that they can also be on Jake's platform. So it's been a huge advantage to us, and we're going to continue to leverage that. And I think it really, that just gets back to, all the things we've talked about around like community and customer. I think it's about tapping into the different communities that these different creators have, so you can speak to people with a different level of authenticity.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, more from the Ground Up.
If managing office supply runs is still on your to-do list, this is your sign to get Walmart Business. From express deliveries in as fast as 1 hour to multi-user accounts and even IT setup, Walmart Business has what you need to save time, money, and hassle. It's everything you love about Walmart, like low prices and wide product assortment, with even more for your business. Fees and terms apply. Start your free account today at business.walmart.com.
With the influencer conversation, it's also, I guess you could all kind of answer this. Do you look for the person who has the most followers? Do you look for their most engaged community? Like, what makes a successful influencer someone you want to work with when it comes to selling your product? Alicia, you could start.
It really depends on the purpose of what you're looking for in a specific campaign. But general rule of thumb, we definitely look at the comment sentiment and the engagement. So, somebody could have, a ton of followers, but maybe their average views for each video on their social platform, like TikTok, for example, it's like widely variable. Or you look through the comments, and let's say an influencer is talking about a product, but all of the comments are like, "You're so beautiful, I'm the first to comment, I love your lashes," and it has nothing to do with the product. Then the comment sentiment, we're like, I think people are just really into this person versus really thinking about what they're sharing, versus you might find a smaller influencer where the comment sentiment is, where do I get that? How does that compare to this other product? So there's high consideration in those comments. So that's the number one thing we look at, the comment sentiment. And then, depending on the campaign, if we're but we also want to collapse the funnel and make sure that the conversion is there, but we're also trying to get as much reach as possible, they're kind of unicorns to find the macro influencers with high, sentiment in the comments with consideration to purchase. But, it'll just depend on what the campaign is, but that comment sentiment is number one for us.
Yeah, especially because you're trying to get more customers, which I'm sure everyone here is curious as well. When you have your e-commerce business, how are you retaining customers? How are you getting customers to begin? Woody, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, I think it starts, I guess kind of to just touch on a little bit of the influencer topic. I think influencers definitely hit different purposes. Some are macro for awareness, some are lower funnel converters. And I think in terms of getting customers, bringing customers to your e-commerce platform, for us, we're really trying to form that one-to-one connection. We go after a much younger customer, so we're leveraging SMS as a big channel for us, and also DMs, trying to really be speaking to the customer where the customer lives. This our demo is 10 to 25. That customer, as we all know, they are using their DMs, they're using Snapchat, they're using SMS. They're not really an email customer, like an older generation might be. So we're really working in those channels as a way of getting like creating that one-to-one connectivity. And then in terms of like finding customers, a big bucket of customers for us right now is Jake's audience. So we're really leaning into that audience and finding those like points of connectivity that create authenticity between the fan and the product and the problem we're solving in their life. We really view our brand and our product as a core essential for this young male to have in their life. So I think we're just trying to really help them understand the problem we're solving. We always talk about like the problem solution framework and where we fit into their life. And so it's about articulating that to them in a way that, a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old really understands authentically.
Yeah, really targeting the key audience there. And, as we look into the future of e-commerce, AI is definitely a topic of conversation. I would love to get all of your thoughts on when it comes to AI, how are you implementing that into your business? Arthur, how about you start?
Yeah, and I'll tie this answer back to what Alicia and Woody just shared, because I think they were spot on around finding creators and influencers with like true engagement. Followers are a meaningless metric in this day and age, and being able to like deeply semantically understand a creator through all their content is where AI can be really powerful. So one great example of that, a very popular supplements brand that we work with, historically had worked with a lot of health and wellness creators. Like that's the obvious type of creator they should be working with, right? Through AI and through large language models, we identified a lobster fisherman in Maine as being a great potential fit. This guy, Jacob Knowles, if you don't follow him, amazing follow. And, Jacob's like constantly on a boat. It's really fucking cold. He gets sick all the time. And the supplement brand would be a great fit for him, and he could authentically speak to it. And lo and behold, he became their top converter. So, that's just one of the ways where AI and LLMs can enable us to have this like deep understanding that like everybody in this room, if we watch content for the next 1,000 hours, we like still might not be able to identify that individual. Same with things like brand safety. Like we could all sit here with 1,000 tabs open and watch 1,000 different creators for an infinite period of time, but an LLM can tell us instantaneously, if a creator is brand safe or not. So brands should be leveraging these tools as best as possible. We just did something really fun and exciting where we onboarded Claude as a new employee to Agentio and walked the AI, the LLM, through all of our onboarding docs. Now they understand the company deeply, and now they're an unbelievable resource. So there are so many ways, if you have this like AI first mentality, that you can get this 10x and 100x leverage in your day-to-day and for your companies.
Yeah. Alicia, what about you? How are you implementing AI into your company?
We're excited for where skincare is going to go with AI. Similar to kind of biotech and the medical field. When you think about all the different ingredients that you can formulate with, and all the different ingredients that you can combine, and the different patterns that you see, like two surprising ingredients when combined, you might see that the reviews always say it's very soothing, things that are not so obvious. So I think in R&D, we're really trying to get our labs and partner with them to kind of focus on that. We haven't found, it's not exactly there yet, and there has to be a lot of kind of supplemental like oversight, but it's been an interesting way to kind of think about cataloging ingredients, et cetera. And then our company organization-wide uses AI in just like surprising ways. For example, our marketing team put together this like, we just came back from, Ulta has this annual conference every year. We were very excited. We won Skincare Brand of the Year. You guys are the first I'm sharing this with. And we've quickly grown to become the second largest skincare brand at Ulta Beauty. And they ask us like, oh my gosh, like your booth, for example, last year we had this like incredible booth that we created at like the Ulta conference where you bring your brand to life. And I didn't even realize this, but it was just like the backdrop imagery that the booth was set against was just so beautifully done. And I asked our marketing team, I was like, who on our team, like which designer worked on this? And she was like, oh, it was AI combined with like a little tweaks from our team. And so, just across the organization, we're seeing that come to life. Another fun example, there's like usual things, like we're seeing our teams use AI for like project management, for even copywriting. Like for example, we'll have like our PDP page and they need to have a description that's like 50% of the length somewhere else, and they'll just like pop it into AI and it'll come out like actually very well written. Or like even taglines, like very creative marketing taglines. Like AI comes up with some very creative taglines and names for products and things like that. But one of my favorite examples is last year, we had this influencer like activation where the team put together like these hand deliveries of like skin emergency kits and rolled up in like a skin emergency car. And it was this whole thing. They were dressed like ER folks. It was this whole thing, and they had come up with this like entire rap song and a beat and like music, and it was choreographed. And again, I was like, how'd you guys like write this rap song and this like music? And again, it was with the help of AI. And so, it's just, I think AI is evolving so quickly. It's just going to have like more and more capabilities. And I think one thing we talk about a lot in our teams is the cognitive labor behind AI, right? That's going to be everything, like the prompts that you know how to use and how creative you get to use it as a tool. And so, we're starting to do more training around that and different aspects of teams using it. But it's really that cognitive labor and how creative you can get with it.
Yeah, I love the rap song. I think that's so funny. Marketing folks, be aware, get ready to use that. Woody, what about you? How is AI helpful for your business?
These are some awesome examples. I think we're using it very similarly. I'm encouraging everyone across my company to use it just to speed up workflows. Some of the more junior people on my team, if they want to send me a presentation, I'll have them present it to AI, or like drop it into AI first and say, hey, I'm presenting this to my CEO. Like, what holes is he going to poke? Like, try to just get prepared a little bit more using AI. I think it's like a great second brain for people. And on the marketing side, I'm using it all the time with my marketing team just to like knock out brainstorms or quick visualizations of ideas we have. Whereas before that would take, days to turn around. You can turn around in minutes. I think it's just such an amazing tool for creativity. And then we've been using it a lot on the social media side. Jake's team loves creating AI videos because it just, again, unlocks creativity. We had this great video a couple weeks ago where Jake had a team member throw knives at his head, and it looked real. And he like popped balloons.
I thought it was real.
Yeah, I know. All AI. We have like a great AI team that we work with. And then I think one of the coolest things we did last summer when we launched, when kind of the deep fake mania was going around the internet, we sent 75 influencer kits out to a lot of kind of big names in the world. And we inside the influencer kit, we had a TV screen that would play when you open up the lid. And we made these AI deepfake videos where it was that person talking to themselves from 6 months in the future, saying, hey, don't mean to rain on your parade, but you smell horrible. No one wants to be your friend. Like, I hooked it up with Jake Paul. He sent you this product, like, use it, you're gonna love it. And we had like probably the most successful one of those was Little Yachty. He posted it on his Instagram. It got like 40 million impressions. Complex and Hypebeast then posted it on there. So I think overall that one box got us probably 100 million impressions. And it was just such a fun, creative use of AI. And like the team had so much fun putting these scripts together of what should this person say to themselves in this video. And we leveraged AI to make the scripts. It was a really fun, like, 360 moment that still took us a lot of time to do, but if we hadn't had these tools, it would have been an impossible task.
No, yeah, I wanted to ask you all about AI because I think people are a little intimidated by it. It's one of those where I feel like if you ask most folks, they're 50-50 on using it or not using it or figuring out how to use it. So I loved all the examples you shared. To kind of, I guess, top things off for a last question, where do you see the future of e-commerce? Like we started off in the panel, 5 years has already changed since the pandemic started. So where do you kind of see e-commerce going in the next 5 years?
I mean, with AI, it's going to move pretty quick. It's going to be hard to predict. I think one thing I've really seen and talked to a few companies who are doing this, a lot of it leveraging AI, I think it's going to be like that one-to-one connectivity between a brand and the customer. And I think, commerce is very much going to where you want to be where your customer shops, agnostic of the channel. And I think where the e-com layer is going to play a bigger and bigger role is helping answer the questions for customers no matter where they're shopping, so that you can know who that customer is, understand their pain points, and understand like their path to purchase. But I've seen some really cool technology around I think the FAQ question in websites or the section is going to be dead. You're now going to have like a one-on-one agentic conversation with brands, and I think that is going to kind of be where e-commerce goes. At least that's probably the most impactful thing I've seen of late.
The amazing thing about AI is that it equals the entire playing field just becomes similar in terms of what their abilities can be, and it's like a true equalizer. I think that lowers the barrier for anybody to start great brands, and whether it's like understanding great marketing themes or how to go from 0 to 1. Like everybody has the world's greatest executive coach and performance marketer on their team now. So I think that will be really powerful. And then for the brands that really stick out, it'll be those that are able to build true community and have people storytell on their behalf to get their message out in a very unique and differentiated way.
Yeah, and I think for skincare, I've seen some incredible uses of AI where you can just even upload a very high-res picture of your face, and AI will analyze, your skin looks overall healthy. I see some dehydration. And, I think it's going to get more and more spot on. So that consultative approach where you feel like you're really shopping right next to an expert, and that assisted commerce. And so I think it's going to feel incredibly personalized. Forget the days of creating all these different landing pages of where your customer's coming from. It's going to just be you get there, and through AI, you're going to be able to customize and personalize that shopping journey. And I think, fully agree that the sites that are going to be very differentiated are the ones that are going to be able to capture attention through whether something it's very entertaining or, the information is just superior. I think content and what, can't be done through AI, that creative, what you're offering your community is going to be what sets people apart.
Perfect. Woody, Arthur, Alicia, thank you so much.
That's all for this episode of From the Ground Up. Our producers are Blake Odom and Avery Miles, with help from Sam Gebauer and Hawa Otori. Editing by Matt Toder. Mix and sound design by Nicholas Torres. If you haven't already, subscribe to all Ink podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.